Sort of an introduction is, and I'm going to read through some of this so I stay on track and don't get lost down a rabbit hole. But as small businesses increasingly rely on technology to drive growth and productivity, the role of the MSP has become increasingly more important. Obviously, MSPs offer a wide range of services from networking, remote management, cybersecurity, backup, help desk support that help the small businesses, our clients. I mean, with the complexities of today's modern technology. In recent years, cloud services has emerged as the cornerstone of the MSP offering, enabling scalable, cost-efficient solutions that align with the needs of small businesses. We're going to explore the role of cloud services in elevating MSP sales strategies to empowering small businesses that thrive in this digital-first environment. So a little bit about me, I guess those of you may have met through the years in all of the different conferences. I'm a co-founder of CorKat. We started CorKat in 2011. Kind of came together with my business partner at what would be considered a local MSP. We're more of a break-fix shop, or totally a break-fix shop at that point. And I had more of a national MSP that was focused on manufacturing clients. We came together, actually met at church, and he had an idea about wanting to build a data center to do co-location, and I was really looking at some way to provide hosting for my larger clients. So we came up with the idea of building CorKat, a brick and mortar data center located in northern Colorado. We looked at lots of different ways to do that, everything from being in somebody else's data center to with our own equipment to purchasing bare metal servers from another provider and then managing those. But really what made the most sense to us was to design and be able to design and control it the way that we wanted. Now, fast forward 12, 13 years, would I have done it differently now than I did then? Yeah, probably. We've obviously learned a lot along the way. But the main thing is that, you know, we're a MSP first is what we were. Then we built the CorKat Cloud, which is our data center. But really, it's designed by MSPs for MSPs. So as I continue to go to other conferences, we would run into people and they would ask questions about, hey, what are you guys doing for cloud? And it just became apparent that we should be selling to other MSPs because just we figured it out. We might as well help others. So that's kind of how we got into the channel side. So what do you offer your clients now? I think we could all agree that the cloud's not going away. You know, I don't know how many of you are as old as I am, but I got my CNE, which some of the younger people probably don't even know what that is, but it was a certified network engineer in 1995 or 1999, and that was actually on Novell 5.0. Again, most people probably haven't even heard of that. In 2000, the year 2000, I got my MCSE, and that was in NT4. Most of you probably haven't heard of that either. But at the end of the day, that was the on-premise hardware. One-time sale, you sold the hardware, the server software, the client licenses, whatever they needed. Then in the manufacturing environment, we typically had 3 to 4 servers, a domain controller, Exchange server, file/terminal server, and then a SQL server. And that was every 3 to 5 years we could roll in there and put in something new. There's a lot has changed since then, much more efficient in every single way. Sort of the next version of that, in my opinion, was hardware as a service, right? So we were still selling the same stuff, but instead of charging them the upfront cost of 40, 50, whatever thousand the number was for that hardware, we would absorb the cost, spread it out over time, and then make some money on the financing that essentially. So Haas really was just very similar to on-prem. And then the next version of that was, for us, virtualization. So we still had physical hardware on site. Now we just virtualized it. A little bit more efficient. Instead of buying 3 or 4 servers, now we could buy 2, one primary, one backup. And, the end of the day, the servers cost more money because they were doing other things, and we had different layers of software that ran on that. But really, that was our next layer. And then in 2012 is when we officially opened our data center. But we really started hosting our clients in 2011. We built a box from scratch called a white box, if you will, and we were hosting our clients in our, the back of our MSP. And, they were aware that it was there, but they also were aware that we were building the data center. So we really started in 2011. 2012, we actually finished the build out on the brick and mortar. And for those of you that are considering that, I would use $1,500 per square foot as your cost for that. And that would include depending on where you're located, but for us, that would be the building and the infrastructure to support it. So with cloud computing, sorry, I get behind, there's a couple different options, right? So we've got public cloud, which is the big guys. They've been around the longest. Google, Azure, AWS. There's all the different things that come along with the public cloud, right? There's the cost, the complexity. Is it secure? Is it private? Are we going to get canceled if we're doing something that they don't agree with politically? There's a lot of different things that go on with that. The biggest thing that I see that we didn't like with that is that it's utility billing. And for us, we bill our MSP agreements are fixed cost, right? So that really didn't work out for us. The other thing is it's so complex that we would have to have multiple staff members, that got certified in those different things, because it's not, it's not very straightforward as to how to order that stuff. There's different levels, there's different regions, there's different everything. And for us, it just was too complex. Not that we're not smart enough to figure it out, but we didn't want to. The next thing would be private cloud, right? So that's similar to what we provide. It's also somebody like a Rackspace. There's a couple different ways you can do that, and we looked at this as well. You can do dedicated servers within there. So I'll call it bare metal. Those are just for you sitting in their space. You could colo servers, your own servers in their space. That way you're going to have that reoccurring cost every 3 to 5 years again when you update your stack or expand it. CorKat, obviously our cloud is similar to that. We provide managed hosting, dedicated servers, or colo. So we provide all of those different things. If you'd like to learn more about any one of those, let me know. I think most people probably understand the difference. Managed hosting is basically where we provide the OS and everything for you. Just hand it back to you just like it's a regular server, and then you guys manage it. You don't have to know much about virtualization at all. If your team is a little bit more virtualization savvy, if you will, or as they become more savvy down the road, then we can just give you dedicated servers and you can do whatever you want with them, or dedicated slices, right? And then there's co-location. So if you have a specific firewall that you want to bring, you're not going to be able to do that with the public cloud. But let's say that your clients all use Sophos, which ours do. We've got space where you can bring your own firewall and manage it the way you want. Or if you're using Sophos and you want to use a slice off of our, we have a shared one that we can provide to you, slices of that as well. And then the last option really is do it yourself, right? So that's one of the ones that we looked at as well. And with do it yourself hosting, there's another batch of challenges that come with that. Yes, you can control it, but at the same time that you have the complete control of it, you also have all the risk, and you've got to have staff that can back that up. So one of the things, what do you need to do it yourself hosting? You need a lot of money. It's super expensive to go out and buy those servers the first time, plus the networking gear. And that all depends on where your servers sit, right? If they're in your own space, like where we started in our own back room, then you don't have the compliance. You don't have the tier 3 data center. You don't have the redundancy for power, probably. There's a lot of things that you don't have that you may not think that you need or that your clients need. But at the end of the day, they do. They deserve it. And unless they know that they're not getting data center quality environment, then you need to assume that they do need it. We had a client that we met early on. They didn't become a client right off the bat. They were running their stuff out of their back office, and they said that their clients, it was good enough for them. A couple years later, they had some issues. They moved into our data center, but they still had that mindset, so to speak, that it was good enough for their clients. Now they were in the data center, but they were running on such old equipment within our data center that they couldn't provide a good product. So they ultimately went out of business. We picked up a bunch of their clients, and now they run on our stack. But the moral of the story is, treat your clients like you'd treat your own stack. Everything that we put in our data center is enterprise grade. We don't run a cheap and deep stack like you can get on Azure and everything else. Everything that we run is not bleeding edge, because I don't like that, but I like current yet proven, right? So we run everything that we have is Xeon processors. Everything that we do is on flash storage, flash or SSD. We don't have any spinning disk anymore. Those are old generation things. So running on our stuff, a lot of times you're going to find out, because it's important to us, you're going to find out that you need less resources because our resources are of higher quality. So sorry, getting down a rabbit hole again. Cost, expertise, right? So if you're going to do it yourself, you've got to have people on staff that know what they're doing. It can't be your smartest tech that's going to learn it. We tried that early on, and that was not the way to go. You really need to go out and find people that are already experts in that, because at the end of the day, that platforms are running your clients. And those people are more expensive typically than you're not going to get a level one engineer for $45,000 or $50,000 that you want to put in your data center, right? Those all start at six figures and go up. And then the other thing to consider for needs is compliance. You need to go through an annual audit. We're SSA 18, SOC 1 Type 2. We have been since the very beginning. We actually have it on the data center side and the MSP side. Since they're already looking through all of our stuff, we included both. Not necessary for most businesses, but for the data center, it definitely is. So if you're thinking about hosting yourself, those are the needs that come to my mind right away. Risks, obviously, downtime is your biggest risk, right? So, and it could be something that's out of your control, right? So you can't just have one internet connection, because if something happens to that one connection, whether it be, a car accident or anything else, you're going to go down. So you've got to have multiple connections, which cost, more money, obviously. You also need to have a blended connection, so that if one goes down, the other one can automatically come up. People don't really notice, right? If something goes down, it's catastrophic. So you look at some of the big guys, all of the big guys, right? They have outages every week, every month. There's just, it happens because they're so large. We've had 4 since 2012 total. And we're proud of that, right? But we have a smaller environment. It's easier for us to control. Staff, again, we talked about that a little bit. And obviously the biggest risk is bankruptcy. This is super expensive to get into. We did not turn a profit for 7 years on the data center side. The margins aren't huge, but it was important enough to us to be able to control and design it our own way. There was 3 other companies that started kind of doing the same thing that we did the same year. The others don't exist anymore, and we're still here. So I think a lot of that we attribute to we grew organically, as opposed to we didn't get a bunch of money up front and could go out and try to blow this thing up overnight. We grew through trial and error, and we grew, for the most part in the beginning was with our own clients. So we got about 98% of our clients are hosted. The few that aren't are because it's a better fit for them for whatever reason. They've got CNC machines on site or something along those lines where it makes more sense to have servers still on site. Now, the other thing to think about is costs, right? The costs are astronomical. First, you need a location to put it. Next, you need the networking. If you're in somebody else's data center, they're going to have a lot of that, but you're still going to have firewalls that are going to be enterprise grade. We're still going to have switches that everything plugs into. You got to buy the servers. Yeah, those are cheap. And you can't just buy one or two to start. You need at least three to create a node. Then you need a virtualization software. So VMware was recently purchased by Broadcom, and that's creating all kinds of chaos because nobody knows for sure what they're going to do. But we do know that we're one of the few. I think they only kept 5% of the VMware partners that they'll retain as partners, and we're been told that we're one of those. So we're super excited about that. But at the same time, it's the Cadillac of virtualization, but it's also, I mean, they charge Cadillac prices. So oftentimes you get what you pay for. Um, I always like to say the cheapest is just that. It's the cheapest. It's certainly never going to be the best. Anyway, software, staff, again, environmental considerations, right? So what are you doing for power? What do you have for backups? Backup power. You need cooling. Obviously, those servers, we don't have a heater in our data center. It could be 15 below zero outside. It's still going to be in the 60s at least in the data center. We're running cooling year round. The neat thing about where we live is we can run economizers, which means it basically brings in the cool air. So let's say if it's under 70 degrees, we're going to pull in cool air to circulate in the data center, just the ambient air. We don't need to run the chillers. So it's a little bit more efficient where we live. California, you wouldn't get as much benefit out of that, maybe a little bit at night, the right time of the year. But at the end of the day, they got to run chillers all the time. You got multiple ISPs. We talked about that a little bit. Backups and redundancy. It has to be N+1 for everything. There can't be a single point of failure if you're doing it right, whether that be staff, internet, power, server nodes. Everything has to have an extra. The benefits of cloud services for MSPs. Obviously, there's improved security. We provide security, encryption, MFA, threat detection, there's 15 layers of security that we provide for all of our MSP clients, and we can do the same thing on the data center side. I really encourage all MSPs to make sure that they standardize as much as possible, whether it be firewalls. We use only Sophos because I want, if somebody calls in with a need, firewall need, every one of our engineers should be able to answer their questions. We don't have to wait for Tim to get off the phone or to get back to the office. If we were, supporting Fortinet and every other kind of a thing, we would have to, there's no way that everybody could be an expert in all of those. But if we have just one, Sophos is ours, everybody can know it, and they have to. So I would really, just on the side, that's what I would recommend, is the more standardized you can get, the better. Obviously, DR is a lot easier in the cloud. Scalability for sure. You're not buying a server that you're hoping that they'll grow into, but not out of in the next 3 to 5 years. Increased efficiency, right? So not only is the software more efficient, in most cases running through the cloud, because you're only kept passing keystrokes and screenshots back and forth, but also your staff, right? You're taking that whole hardware layer away unless you're doing it yourself. If you're using somebody else's cloud, that whatever time your staff used to spend, working on hard drives or power supplies or anything physical, even if it's under warranty, it's going to take time. In a cloud environment that's set up correctly, call it auto healing, which it doesn't heal itself, but it does move the data to where there's not an issue automatically. We get an alert, our guys then fix it. It's offline. Nobody even knows it happened. And then you should have cost savings as well, right? The goal is to move to more of an MMR, monthly reoccurring revenue, as opposed to that one-time sale. So the three things that we need to have for our group to do a sales presentation is the same as Chartec sales process and everything else. We think of it as more of a business consultant than a sales piece, but what do they have now? So for us, that's the technical discovery. So let's say that they've got 25 users and they've got a couple of servers in the back room. Maybe they got a firewall, maybe they don't. We saw one 2 weeks ago that didn't. That's what we find out from the technical discovery. And then what are their goals and their objectives? So that's the discovery question. So we, as the salesperson, go in and interview all of the stakeholders, right? So we don't have to talk to all 6 account managers. Perhaps maybe it's the uh, person that oversees them, and maybe it's all 6. It just depends, right? We don't want to disrupt their whole day, but we do want to find out what's going well, what they're trying to accomplish, what is their pain points at the same time, right? So with those 3 things, then we can create a sales presentation or a proposal for them. One of the things that we pride ourselves in CorKat is we can help you as much or as little as you want. So let's say that you want to offer cloud, but you're not sure even how to price it, how to present it, any of those things. We're small enough and agile enough that we can help you with that. Just let us know. Whether it's designing the solution, we do that all the time. That's Tim. That's his primary function for us these days. But also with the sales presentation or anything, markups, all of those different things we can help you with. That is what reminded me of, all of our solutions are custom. So we want to focus on the tangible benefits for the client, right? So what are they going to get? Improved security, reduced infrastructure costs. So now instead of having a whole rack full of stuff at their office site, they may just have a firewall and a switch. That's really all they need at that point. It helps them optimize for growth. I don't know how many of you were doing cloud when COVID hit. Again, almost all of our clients were already hosted when COVID hit. So for us, there was very little challenge to getting their workers remote access, right? Because they were already, they needed the Horizon View applet on their PC, their laptop, whatever it is that they were using. But even if they were using an old Windows 98 machine at home, it wasn't connecting to their network, so there was no risk to their business network, which because they were already set up in the cloud. So I can't even imagine how difficult it must have been for a lot of the MSPs that still had on-site stuff, where all of a sudden now you've got 50 or 100 clients and they all need access within, immediately from all their different home machines through VPN or however you're going to try to do that. I can't even fathom how that must have been. So for us, fortunately, we had already moved everything over. We didn't have to deal with any of that. It basically, it simplifies their whole IT environment. It enhances scalability, right? If you have a client that needs more resources, it's just a click away and you can add them. Same way the other way. It's like, let's say we work with Greeley Stampede, which puts on a big rodeo every year. So for 2 weeks out of the year, they're packed. And for 2 months out of the year, a month before and a month after, let's say, there you have a lot of people on staff doing stuff. But the rest of the year, it's super low need. So we can scale them up when they need it and then bring them back down when they don't. Just streamline things. So best practices to succeed in selling cloud services to small businesses, MSP should adopt best practices, right? So first, educate the clients. Why is it they would want or need cloud services if they don't know? I mean, everybody's heard of it, right? But they need to understand how it's going to help them in their specific business. And then make sure that you're offering tailored solutions that meet the needs of your clients and stay within their budget, right? So if you're providing fixed cost pricing to your clients, you better have a fixed cost cloud solution. Otherwise, your profits are going to change all the time, right? And nobody wants that. Provide proactive support and monitoring to make sure that your performance is optimal and reliable. The last thing you want is your clients to put in a ticket that says, hey, things are running slow, blah, blah, blah. Make sure you're monitoring that and that you know that you're at 98% utilization on CPU or RAM or disk space or whatever is the problem. You have to be proactive in monitoring that stuff. By doing that, you can build trust, and you want to be transparent about what you're offering, right? How's it priced? Service level agreements. What can they expect if something were to happen? Always, we make all of our clients backups included, right? We don't price it otherwise. The only way that it would be priced without that is if you bought a bare metal stack of servers and you're managing them on your own. At that point, we don't have any control or touch to them. So, but anybody that buys a solution from us other than that, or co-location, obviously, it comes with backup. And make sure that you continuously evaluate and communicate with your clients. Make sure that that's working for them, right? So TBRs, some of our clients, we do TBRs once a year. Some we do every quarter. Some of our other clients, they're needier, right? So we're in touch with them on more of a monthly basis, but just make sure everything's working for them. I can't stress it enough. Even though we have a certain stack that we provide, we want to sell what's best for our clients, not what's best for us. So, yes, all of our clients get the same antivirus, they get the same firewall, they get the same, Duo, all the stuff, but not all of them need the same firewall. Not all of them need the same cloud setup. Not all of them need whatever. Each math problem is slightly different for each client. The tools that we use are the same, but the way that they're organized and the amount that they need and where they need it is unique. So make sure that you're leveraging cloud-based infrastructure, because if you're not talking to your clients about it, somebody else is. And yes, Office 365 is cloud, but you need to be looking at the rest of their stuff. There's most of their things that they use now are SaaS based, so a lot of their ERP stuff is already in the cloud. There's no reason for them to have server. Rarely is there a time or a need that they have to have servers on site, unless they have machines or it's something that requires it, right? So it simplifies things for you and it simplifies things for them. Make sure, again, that it's client first approach.